4:42 Zulu time. The Norwegian Sea holds the kind of gray stillness that experienced sailors distrust immediately. Moderate swells, patchy fog, visibility fluctuating between adequate and marginal. For a U.S. Navy carrier strike group transiting international waters, these are workable conditions. Nothing concealed, nothing prohibitive, no justification for altered operations, until the radar scope rewrites the tactical picture. Inside the Combat Information Center aboard USS Nimitz, an air warfare coordinator breaks the steady hum of routine watchkeeping. AWC to TOW, multiple surface contacts bearing 347, range 28 nautical miles. Not a single vessel, not scattered fishing traffic. 5 distinct returns materializing simultaneously from Norwegian coastal waters, moving in formation geometry too precise to be coincidental, too coordinated to be commercial. No one requests confirmation. No one speculates aloud. Merchant vessels do not steam like that. On the bridge wing, the carrier's captain studies the digital plot without adjusting his stance. The Nimitz, over 100,000 tons of nuclear-powered steel, maintains base course and speed. No reactive turn, no precautionary deceleration, no early signal of concern. In the U.S. Navy, altering heading prematurely communicates hesitation. Automated identification protocols engage across the strike group. Hull profiles, radar signatures, emission patterns. The classification resolves within 90 seconds. Preliminary classification populates the tactical picture. Probable Russian Northern Fleet surface combatants, Udaloy or Sovremeny class. Range decreases to 21 nautical miles. The surface warfare coordinator reports with clinical precision. Formation geometry indicates deliberate intercept course. This is not parallel shadowing, not distant observation. This is a blocking formation designed to cross ahead, compress maneuvering space, and compel course alteration without weapons release. A maneuver calculated to assert dominance through navigational pressure alone. The bridge-to-bridge radio transmits on VHF channel 16, the international hailing frequency. Unidentified Russian naval vessels. This is United States warship operating in international waters. State your intentions. Silence. Not static, not interference, just deliberate tactical silence. Range 18 nautical miles and closing. The first indication arrives as 5 blips on a radar display, appearing within a 3-second sweep at precisely 28 nautical miles, bearing 347 degrees. The timing alone triggers recognition protocols. Commercial traffic doesn't emerge from coastal waters in synchronized intervals. Fishing fleets don't maintain that kind of positional discipline. The air warfare coordinator leans closer to the scope, tracking the contacts through 2 complete rotations before keying the internal circuit. TOW, air, I have 5 surface contacts bearing 347, range 28 miles, speed 22 knots, formation interval approximately 1,800 yards. The tactical action officer crosses the CIC deck in 4 strides, eyes already scanning the integrated display before he reaches the console. No verbal acknowledgement needed. The data speaks clearly enough. 5 vessels, equal spacing, matching speed, parallel headings, textbook formation steaming. Not the loose cluster of a convoy, not the random scatter of independent operators. This is deliberate geometry, maintained through active station keeping and coordinated navigation. The watch officer's hand moves to the classification panel, initiating automated analysis suites that compare radar return characteristics against known vessel profiles. Hull length estimates derived from reflection patterns, superstructure height inferred from vertical returns, speed to wake ratio calculated from sea clutter distortion. Within 90 seconds, preliminary classification populates the tactical picture. Probable Russian Northern Fleet surface combatants, Udaloy or Sovremeny class.
The Nimitz maintains Condition 3 steaming, standard watch rotation, routine operations, but in CIC, keyboard activity increases. Watchstanders pull up rules of engagement matrices. Communication protocols for international encounters load onto auxiliary displays. The ship's log receives its first entry documenting the contact 0442 ZU. 5 surface contacts detected bearing 347 degrees, range 28 nautical miles, classification pending, probable Russian naval formation. The detection is complete. Now comes the interpretation. Range decreases steadily across the next 12 minutes, 26 nautical miles, 24, 22. The Russian formation maintains speed and bearing, neither accelerating nor falling back, holding their disciplined 1,800-yard spacing with the precision that marks professional naval operations. Inside CIC, watchstanders track the closure rate with clinical detachment, updating the digital plot every 30 seconds as new radar data populates the tactical picture. At 21 nautical miles, the geometry shifts. The lead Russian destroyer alters heading by 8 degrees to starboard, a subtle adjustment that would be unremarkable in isolation, merely a minor course correction in open ocean. But within 45 seconds, the entire formation mirrors the maneuver. 5 vessels, simultaneous turn, identical degree of change. The tactical display redraws their projected tracks instantly, and the new vectors tell an unambiguous story. Tau, surface. Lead contact has come right 8 degrees. Formation is conforming. New bearing puts them on intercept geometry. The surface warfare coordinator's voice carries no inflection, just data, but the implication requires no interpretation. What began as a parallel approach, 2 naval forces transiting the same general waters, has transformed into something far more deliberate. The carrier's navigation team runs the calculations automatically, projecting where the Russian track will cross the Nimitz's intended course. Closest point of approach, 14 nautical miles ahead, intersection angle 47 degrees. If both formations maintain present course and speed, they will not pass safely, they will converge. The tactical action officer keys the command circuit. Captain to CIC. No urgency in the tone, no alarm. Just the procedural notification that tactical conditions have escalated from observation to active maneuvering. The Russian formation is no longer shadowing, they are positioning. And positioning always precedes pressure. The geometry of interception is now undeniable. The question becomes, who yields first? The communications officer selects VHF channel 16, the international frequency mandated for bridge-to-bridge hailing and distress calls, monitored by every vessel at sea, regardless of flag or mission. His transmission is textbook protocol, delivered in clear English with no inflection beyond professional courtesy. Russian naval vessels bearing 347 from my position. This is United States warship on your 167 radio, range 21 nautical miles. We are operating in international waters on steady course and speed. Request you state your intentions. The speaker mounted above the navigation plot emits only the faint hiss of open carrier wave. No response. Not even the crackle of a keyed microphone left open accidentally. Just empty radio silence stretching across the frequency. 60 seconds pass. Standard practice allows time for translation, for bridge crews to consult with command authorities, for deliberate consideration before reply. The communications officer repeats the hail, adjusting only the range data. Russian naval vessels, this is United States warship, now range 20 nautical miles. Request you acknowledge this transmission and state your intentions. Nothing. The tactical action officer glances at the chronometer and nods toward the radio console. A third hail transmits. Same frequency, same professional tone, same explicit request for acknowledgement. The response remains identical. Silence. Not atmospheric interference, not equipment malfunction. Deliberate, calculated non-response. In naval communication doctrine, silence carries meaning as clearly as words. Civilian mariners respond to hails instinctively. Safety of navigation demands it. Military vessels operating lawfully acknowledge contact, even if only to confirm receipt. But when a formation refuses 3 separate hails on the emergency frequency, the message is unambiguous. We hear you. We understand you. We choose not to recognize your authority to question our movements. the Russian destroyers continue their converging approach, maintaining formation integrity and steady speed. Range, 18 nautical miles, still closing, still silent. At 14 nautical miles, the radar returns begin exhibiting increased wake turbulence signatures. The surface warfare coordinator's eyes track the changing data stream as speed over ground calculations refresh on the tactical display. TAO, surface, lead contact now indicating 24 knots, formation is conforming. 30 seconds later, the readout updates again, speed now 26 knots. For Udaloy and Sovremeny-class destroyers, 26 knots represents maximum sustainable speed, flank velocity, the threshold where engine rooms transition from routine steaming to high-output operations that burn fuel at exponential rates and stress aging turbine systems. This is not patrol speed. This is not transit speed. This is the speed you order when the mission objective justifies the mechanical and logistical cost. The tactical geometry tightens simultaneously. Formation spacing, previously maintained at a comfortable 3,000-yard interval that allows independent maneuvering room, compresses to 1,800 yards. The Russian destroyers draw closer to one another, creating a more concentrated footprint across the carrier's projected track. Tighter spacing reduces gaps, reduces options, maximizes the blocking effect. Inside CIC, the atmosphere shifts perceptibly. Watchstanders continue their tasks with the same procedural discipline, but keyboard strokes come faster, update intervals shorten. The electronic warfare supervisor begins active emission logging, capturing every Russian radar pulse for later intelligence analysis. Range, 12 nautical miles, closure rate increasing. The numbers scroll across displays throughout the combat center. Time to closest point of approach is no longer a theoretical calculation. It's a countdown measured in minutes, not hours. The Russian formation is no longer observing, no longer shadowing. They are accelerating into blocking position, compressing time and space, applying pressure through velocity and geometry. The encounter has escalated from presence to active maneuvering, and the Nimitz's helm remains locked on base course. The navigation team's collision avoidance system generates recommended course adjustments automatically, displaying them as amber vectors overlaying the tactical plot. A 5-degree turn to starboard would open separation to 8,000 yards, comfortable margin, easily justified as prudent seamanship. A 10-degree alteration would signal unmistakable caution, providing nearly 2 nautical miles of clearance at closest approach. Both options appear as selectable courses on the bridge displays, calculated solutions to what the computer classifies as a developing close-quarters situation. The officer of the deck glances toward the captain's chair, the unspoken question evident. The recommendation sits there in digital clarity, mathematically sound, procedurally defensible, standard practice in congested waters.
The captain's response carries no hesitation, no contemplation, no invitation for discussion. Maintain base course and speed. 4 words delivered with the finality of carved stone. Then, as if the order requires context for the younger watch officers present, they will move or they will not. We alter for no one in international waters. It is not bravado, it is doctrine. The institutional position of the United States Navy refined through decades of Cold War confrontations, freedom of navigation operations, and countless encounters where yielding even minor course adjustments established precedents that multiplied into larger concessions. The principle is non-negotiable. In international waters, U.S. Navy vessels transit on their intended track, period. Altering course under pressure, even by 5 degrees, communicates that foreign naval forces can dictate American movement through international space. The helmsman acknowledges without turning his head. Maintain course 085, speed 18 knots. Aye. The carrier's bow remains locked on heading.
cutting through moderate swells with the mechanical indifference of 100,000 tons that answer only to physics and the laws of the sea. Range, 10 nautical miles and closing. The recommended course changes blink once on the display, then disappear, ignored. At 6 nautical miles, the electronic warfare suite detects the shift instantly. Russian search radars, which have been sweeping in broad rotational patterns since initial contact, narrow their beam width and increase pulse repetition frequency. The transition from search mode to tracking mode is unmistakable, a distinct change in emission characteristics that every electronic warfare operator is trained to recognize immediately. The high-frequency chirp of fire control radars reverberates through headsets across CIC, a sound that carries specific implications. These are targeting systems designed to provide the precise range, bearing, and velocity data required for weapons guidance. The audio warning receiver emits its characteristic tone, 2 sharp pulses indicating radar illumination from multiple sources. TAO, EW, multiple fire control radars active. Russian bandstand and cross-sword systems. We are being tracked. The electronic warfare supervisor's voice remains level, reporting data without interpretation. But the data speaks clearly. Bandstand radars guide SAN-9 missiles. Cross-sword systems direct SSN-22 Sunburn anti-ship missiles, supersonic, sea-skimming weapons designed specifically to defeat carrier defenses. Across the strike group, weapons status boards illuminate in cascading sequence. Escort cruisers and destroyers report Aegis systems transitioning to heightened readiness. Air defense coordination circuits activate automatically. The entire formation adjusts to elevated threat condition without breaking radio silence, executing protocols drilled into muscle memory through countless exercises. In CIC, watchstanders monitor the evolving tactical picture with intensified focus. Fighter alert crews receive encrypted standby notifications. Electronic countermeasure systems move from passive monitoring to active preparation. And still, the Nimitz's rudder does not shift 1 degree. The carrier maintains base course 085, speed 18 knots, bow aimed precisely where it was aimed 30 minutes ago. The doctrine holds. In international waters, U.S. Navy vessels do not alter course under threat, not for 5 degrees, not for 1. Range, 4.8 nautical miles. At 3 nautical miles, the encounter transitions from electronic abstractions to visual reality. Through bridge-mounted binoculars, lookouts can distinguish individual features on the Russian destroyers, hull numbers painted in Cyrillic characters, the angular silhouette of AK-130 gun turrets, deck crews moving along weather decks in their distinctive blue and white striped Telnyashka undershirts. Radar contacts become ships, data points become steel.
The lead destroyer, hull number 548, now clearly visible, increases speed incrementally and edges forward relative to its formation mates. The maneuver is subtle but deliberate, a positional adjustment designed to establish what naval tacticians call right-of-way through presence, placing the destroyer's bow ahead of the carrier's track, creating a geometric situation where the larger vessel must either alter course or accept collision risk. It is the maritime equivalent of a pedestrian stepping into a crosswalk, forcing vehicular traffic to yield regardless of right-of-way rules. A test framed in the language of navigation, but asking a question about resolve. Will you risk collision to maintain doctrine? On the Nimitz's bridge wing, the officer of the deck raises binoculars, tracking the Russian destroyer's relative motion. The visual bearing remains constant, the geometric condition that predicates collision. International rules of the road grant privileged status to vessels constrained by draft, and a 100,000-ton carrier qualifies unambiguously. But legal precedent means nothing if 2 warships occupy the same coordinates simultaneously. Range decreases to 5,400 yards, then 4,800. The Russian destroyer holds its forward position, bow angled across the carrier's intended track. Deck crews are visible on both vessels now, watching each other across diminishing distance.
The gap narrows from miles to thousands of yards to mere ship lengths. The Nimitz's course remains 0.85 degrees, speed remains 18 knots, no deviation, no acknowledgement, just inexorable forward momentum. The Nimitz's response arrives not as evasion, but as calculated escalation within authorized non-kinetic parameters. On the flight deck, an FA-18 Super Hornet positioned on Catapult 2 receives launch clearance. The twin engines spool to full military power, then kick into afterburner with a roar that carries miles across open water. A sound designed to be heard, to be unmistakable, to communicate that airborne assets are now entering the equation. The fighter launches in a controlled violence of steam and thrust, climbing steeply off the bow and establishing a high-altitude patrol pattern that provides total geometric coverage of the encounter. From 25,000 feet, the Hornet's APG-79 radar can track every Russian vessel simultaneously while maintaining weapons range on all 5 targets. The message is clear without a word transmitted. You are observed from a dimension you cannot contest. Simultaneously, the Aegis cruiser USS Lake Champlain transitions its SPY-1 phased array radar from search mode to fire control illumination, bathing the Russian flagship in targeting quality energy. The emission is unmistakable to any electronic warfare suite. This is not surveillance, this is weapons-grade tracking, the radar signature that precedes missile launch sequences. Every rivet, every antenna, every weapon mount on the Russian destroyer is now resolved to centimeter precision. The final element transmits on Russian naval frequencies, encrypted but deliberately formatted for interception. A burst transmission containing precise latitude and longitude coordinates for all 5 Russian vessels, accurate to the meter, along with course, speed, and heading data that could only come from comprehensive surveillance. No threats, no demands, just information demonstrating absolute situational awareness. The unspoken translation: we see everything, we track everything, we can target everything. The carrier has not fired a single shot, has not deviated 1 degree, but it has demonstrated dominance through information, not force. Range: 3,200 yards and holding.
The indication arrives as a velocity change on the tactical display. The lead Russian destroyer's speed readout ticks downward, 24 knots, then 23, then 22. Not an abrupt deceleration that would signal mechanical casualty or emergency maneuvering, but a deliberate reduction in power, the naval equivalent of easing pressure on an accelerator. Within 90 seconds, the entire formation conforms. Speed drops to 20 knots, then 18, matching the carrier's own velocity, transforming from intercept geometry to parallel track. Formation spacing, compressed to 1,800 yards for maximum blocking effect, begins widening incrementally, first to 2,200 yards, then 2,800. The destroyers creating separation that allows independent maneuvering room again. The tactical geometry that held rigid coherence for 32 minutes dissolves in less than 6. The lead Russian destroyer, which had positioned its bow aggressively across the carrier's track, executes a gradual turn to starboard, 5 degrees, then 8, then 12. The blocking formation breaks. By the time the Nimitz reaches the coordinates where collision risk peaked minutes earlier, the Russian vessels have established a parallel course offset by 4.2 nautical miles to starboard. Close enough to maintain visual and radar contact, close enough to claim they shadowed the American formation, but too far to threaten, too far to pressure, too far to force any acknowledgement of their presence. The carrier proceeds on course 085, speed 18 knots, identical heading and velocity it maintained since the encounter began. The rudder never moved, the throttles never adjusted, not 1 degree yielded, not 1 knot surrendered. Encrypted situation reports flow through satellite channels to European command and Pentagon watch floors, carrying comprehensive documentation of the encounter. Every radar track, every emission, every maneuver time-stamped and archived. The engagement ends not with surrender, but with acknowledgement. Power recognized, doctrine validated, balance maintained. The Norwegian Sea returns to its gray stillness, marked only by wake turbulence and fading radar signatures.